As I was sitting here, I think from time to time I may branch out into some other arenas besides movies. I do like videos. I like putting information out there. I love writing, but there's something about the video itself that kind of allows for a relaxation and a casualness that I really much appreciate. So I think I would like to talk a little bit about my calling, about how I got here as a chaplain. I am a hospital chaplain here in Kansas City. I work at a hospital. I've been there for the last 7 years, and I've absolutely loved it. It has been one of the most challenging atmospheres to be in. It has been profitable in the fact that I get to work with such a tremendous team. And it's been fun to see, even as those team members have come and gone, as partnerships have changed, that we still work well together. And it's fun being a chaplain because you're surrounded by all these professionals. And in ministry settings, I've always felt that there's a massive gulf between clergy and laypersons. That I do think on many levels the Reformation, the influence of John Calvin and Martin Luther helped to bridge some of that quite a bit. I think Vatican II for the Catholic Church in the 1960s also helped to bridge some of that. But I still think there's this massive gulf between understanding the world of the clergy and understanding the world of everybody else that punches in, that is on salary, that is on hourly wage, and just the types of tensions and challenges that come with that. And as a chaplain, I get to walk both sides of that world. So I wanted to kind of touch base with how I got to this call. I came to Kansas City back in '97. I had previously been in Oklahoma City for 4 years for 5 years at college. Did a master's degree there as well. Before that, I was in Colorado, born in Alaska. So I get here to Kansas City in '97. Go to Nazarene Theological Seminary. It's a fantastic education. Absolutely enjoyed every aspect of it. And if you can't guess, I'm Church of the Nazarene. Although you couldn't really guess that because you could go to pretty much any seminary anywhere, regardless of what denomination setting you come from. Obviously, I think ideally it'd be good to go to a seminary that can challenge you yet aligns with some of your innate sense of who you feel God has made you up to be. And that's one of my biggest convictions, is that while I believe that we're a blank slate, the writings, if you will, of influences that we have from other people, they shape and mold us to some extent, but I still feel that we're wired a particular way. And I think we're wired a particular way theologically too. And I think there's a beauty in it too. I think there is I think it's God's way of keeping one person from dominating and knowing everything about him. So I think in the way that denominations have formed, even though there have been historical circumstances, theological difficulties and challenges that have led to the rise of the way we have church now, I do think ultimately there's a gift in having the diversity and the uniqueness of each body. So, with that, I'll come back to that at some other point. But I went to seminary, finished up, and at the time I had a massive phobia of hospitals. And I thought, if I'm going to be and I say phobia, I used to faint in hospitals. So when I'd go on Cub Scout trips to the hospital and they'd have somebody up there talking, I remember very vividly in Cub Scouts, just dropping, getting into a cold sweat. And I thought, if I'm a pastor, I probably ought to get over that. So my last year of seminary, '97, I was in a young professional group at a local church here in town. It was filled with medical school students. And I thought, well, this would be kind of neat. I'll try. I needed an out-of-parish ministry experience. So I said, well, let's go ahead and see if I can't get involved here. So I knocked on 2 or 3 hospitals. They weren't interested. Ended up at the one. And really enjoyed it. Really thought this was kind of neat. I liked the fact that you get to meet a wide variety of different types of people, different types of backgrounds. It was a very broad context. It's broad within a building. I can say that. So after 3 months of that, finishing that up, I inquired about doing some further investigation in chaplaincy ministry. My entire calling would my desire was to go back to Colorado. I loved Kansas City, liked it at that point, but really, there's still no better place on earth to live than Colorado. I think, as far as climate goes, and a wide variety of other things as well. So, but I finished the ministry experience. Moved from the quiet suburb of Olathe, Kansas. Some people pronounce it Olathe. There's been a wide variety. If you've seen the large goldfish that was found here a few weeks ago, people were having fun with Olathe. But I moved from Olathe to Midtown Kansas City. Began helping out at a I don't want to say it's inner city church. It was an urban church by KU Med Center, and started in my hospital chaplaincy internship there, and absolutely enjoyed it. It was a level 1 trauma center, and I also spent some time out in Lee Summit Hospital, and was exposed to geriatric patients at an assisted living facility. They had an Alzheimer's unit as well. So for a year, I got to expose and interact and learn a wide variety of different things in that context as well. As time went on, I have continued to grow, to develop, and I come to a point now, because there's a fine line between being a clergy person and a psychologist. And with the training that is involved with being a chaplain, there's a fine line between psychosocial and the theological element. And a lot of the chaplain training, as we've come to know it, was influenced in the 1960s. I don't want to call it the pop culture self-help, but the realization, the psychological realization of daring to look at the individual person. And I'm all about group and community, and I think there's a lot to that. And I also think, too, that you have to take an intimate, deep look into how God has created you as well. And I think that's where a lot of the psychosocial analysis that crept into pastoral care in the 1960s and 70s has been beneficial. There's been some a downside to it too. One of the big things is that you do become more of a psychologist than you do a theologian, and that's actually what your degree in is, in theology. Which, when you're in a hospital context and setting, it makes it so odd when you're around nurses and doctors and others who are providing medications, who are pricking people with needles, and you learn about what it ultimately means to be human. Because as much as we can heal and cure people, there are times when we just can't do it, and we're just absolutely baffled by the fact that we've done everything in our powers to save them, but they're still not going to make it. And I think for anybody in a profession such as chaplaincy, pastoral care, you begin to understand that you represent, that you embody Christ, that your ultimate calling is to bring a balance, to bring a different level of reality to the situation where grief and despair is taking place. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to share tonight. I'm going to be posting videos from here on out once in a while. I'm not going to bombard you, but just some different reflections I have on pastoral care ministry, on maybe devotional kinds of things as well. As much as I like movies, I think there's some other additional avenues that this kind of media source can help out with. So God bless you. Have a good day. Amen.